Greetings all, Nippon B here, and welcome back to our Blood Bowl 2 Coaches series. Today we're going to be discussing the quote good elves or slash light elves of Blood Bowl 2. I'm going to go ahead and lump both of these two teams together, and that they are similar in how they start, similar in how they play. There's just going to be some nuanced differences for them. So as such, we're going to go ahead and get started with the High Elves. As you can see, High Elves are considered one of the more skilled teams by the Blood Bowl 2 staff. They list their strengths as an excellent passing game. They're more sturdier than other teams by virtue of their predominantly 8 armor values. They can be adapted to any players, or adaptive to any players or potential stars. So meaning, all of them have 4 adds, so all of them are in danger in order to score points. Weaknesses for these guys, they don't start with a whole lot of skills. There's not a lot of rerolls involved, not a lot of block, so you can be hurt. You can fail on natural ones, not getting the rerolls. They're not best when it comes to fighting. They are going to be 3 strength across the board, and can get really tight with you as they get expensive. Saying that, let's take a look at real quick and get this team put together. Let's see, third wannabes. And yeah, just in case you were wondering, I do go through and try and at least figure out some names and stuff before I do my videos. Can't say it's great, but it's what we come up with. So I'm looking for a blue and white outfit. There we go. This looks elfy, doesn't it? Okay, and again, not gonna let the computer make our team. All right, here we go. Looking at it, we've got 4 different positions for our High Elves. They've got standard linemen, which cost 70,000. Again, that's one of the reasons cash can get tight with these guys. Even just losing a base guy is often going to require more than 1 game in order to get funding enough to replace. Throwers are 90,000. The 2 come with 2 skills, and we'll talk about those skills once we get there. Catchers are also 90,000. And again, we'll get into details with these guys here in just a minute. And blitzers, you're looking at 100,000 for each of these guys. And honestly, for what they do, it kind of sucks. But they are important pieces to the team. So looking at our team roster, you're looking at, we can get 2 blitzers. Okay, let's start with blitzers to begin with, because you're going to want them. They're the only guys that start with block, and you want as much block on your team as you can possibly get. They do move 7, so they do have decent movement. Strength 3, 4 agility, and 8 armor value. It does make them a little bit tough. One of the things about these blitzers, they don't have access to the strength chart like a lot of other blitzing pieces do. So in order to get Mighty Blow or Guard, you're going to have to roll doubles. That being said, they do start on the agility chart, so getting block dodge pieces is actually very easy with these. Block dodge sidestep, should you get the doubles, go with a guard type thing. Block dodge tackle would be my recommendation for how to move these guys. Block dodge strip ball, something like that. They do have the movement, they do have the agility. They do have access to getting leap to try and, be a box breaker, but we're going to need 2 of these guys to start out with, and I don't much care what they look like. Now, High Elf throwers. Again, throwers are going to be your standard linemen as per usual. They have a 6 movement, which is fairly standard across most of the Blood Bowl 2 teams. 3 strength and a 4 agility and an 8 armor value. These guys also come with pass skill, allowing them to reroll attempted failed passes, And they also come with safe throw. Safe throw is an interesting skill, especially on an elf, because it allows you, let's see, if a pass is made and the player ever is intercepted, you can try and make an agility roll, and if successful, the interception is canceled. So basically, it allows you to throw over people, and they get their, opportunity to intercept, and you can cancel that. So it can allow for some unforgivable mistakes, or ultimately bad play. If you just got to get the ball downfield or get the ball away. Also works with like dump off pass. If you should be looking to go that route and turn your thrower into a runner, you're going to be able to get more out of dump off by having safe throw and not having to go out and get it, which is a nice little benefit of this. These guys do start it with agility, so they can, get general and block, so they can turn into block dodge pieces fairly easily. And because of their 4 edge and being able to throw to literally anybody on the team for a 2 and catch for a 2, if you're throwing quick passes, they can skill up very quickly. I mean, you could, if you were concentrating on it, it's not unrealistic to get 3 to 4 points in a game. So something to think about, and how you want to start your throwers along. High elf catchers are actually fairly nice, and one of the things they had added from years ago when I was really into Blood Bowl, playing in this version, high elves used to only be allowed 2 catchers. I've always been 3 strength. I don't recall them being 7 armor value, but that may have been the case. I think they were 7 movers, 8 armor value at the time. So they are faster now, still strong, so they are viable blitzers. They can fight their way out if they get cornered or boxed in. Again, 7 armor value makes them eligible to be broken. They are 90,000 gold pieces, so can be expensive to rebuy. They do come with catch skill. They don't have dodge like some of the other catchers do, which is kind of a downside. I mean, you're going to have to spend, your first 2 skills probably picking up block or dodge if you want to. You may want to forego dodge and, go with block and see how they're progressing. Maybe go with sidestep or something. Their problem is once you get into late game with Blood Bowl, you tend to run into a lot of tackle, even on like chaos teams and stuff. People will pick it up because dodge is one of the more popular skills. So maybe you kind of go against it. If you're already going to get taken down for it anyway, maybe you pick up jump up. Hopefully you survive the hit and can just get back up for your full move and go on as if nothing happened. So, things like that. For this particular team, I do recommend starting with 2 catchers. Again, I usually only go with 1 thrower on a team, especially one that's 90,000. And that leaves us with linemen. High elf linemen are 6 movers, 3 strength, 4 agility, 8 armor value. So they're a little bit tougher than your standard. A lot of elves tend to be, and also tougher than like Skaven. A lot of your passing teams tend to break a little bit easier. These guys do come with general and edge skills. So again, you can do block dodge pieces very easily with this team. We're going to need to purchase 5 of these guys in order to fill out our team. Now, as you can see, we're only going to be starting with 11 guys, and we're already down to 110,000. That's not great. In terms of rerolls, our rerolls cost 50,000. If we want to go with an apothecary, that's going to be 50,000. So, that being said, let's look at our team staff. In this regard, I am going to recommend trying to forgo the apothecary in the first game. That means you don't want to go toe-to-toe with somebody if you can avoid it, and we'll see how this first game goes for this particular team. We could be looking at a restart fairly quickly. Problem is, while I get 2 rerolls with a lot of my teams, 1 reroll is often bad. I mean, Blood Bowl is a game of bad luck, and it happens to everybody. I mean, some days the dice seem to never fail. Some days all the dice seem to fail. Doesn't matter what you do, no matter how well you plan. As soon as you have to roll a die, it just fails for you. So you want to at least have some option in terms of rerolls. So that first game, you're going to have to play a little bit careful. May end up being a loss for you, but you know, if it's looking badly at the beginning of the game, one thing you can do, because you are an elf team, start backing up, passing the ball around, give people an opportunity to give your team an opportunity to get skills. This team does skill up very well in terms of, you know, some teams, like with Skaven or something, it's hard to get points on your linemen. The only way they really gather points is slopping injuries or, you know, just boneheaded luck mistakes that tend to happen around them. It's really difficult to plan to get them skills. With an elf team, however, because everyone is a viable ball handler, it is very conceivable to make them contribute to the team and gain their skills quickly. So, that being said, we're going to be starting this team with 11 players, no apothecary, and we'll have 10,000 in the bank still in order to hopefully save up and buy an apothecary. Alright, so that's the high elf team. Now let's see about creating a wood elf team and see how they're a little bit different. Oh, let's go back real quick. And we're going to talk about strengths and weaknesses for this team. Wood elves are one of the fastest teams. The only team that is actually faster is the Skaven, and that's only by virtue of the fact that the wood elf catchers have sprint as opposed to an innate movement as opposed to 9 movement. So they're having to roll extra dice in order to go as far. They do arguably have the best starting piece in the game in the War Dancers. We'll talk about them when we get to it in just a little bit. They do have an excellent passing game. Much like the High Elves, every piece is a potential ball handler. With a 4 edge, they can pick the ball up fairly easily and take passes and whatnot. So all personnel can be treated as potential scoring threats. They do have high-priced players, and we'll go over pricing once we get around in just a moment. They also have very little armor. The Wood Elves are all 7 armor value, much like the Skaven. And it is best, you know, to avoid direct confrontation with these guys. Whereas with Skaven, linemen tend to stand up and, you know, fight. These guys, they're better off dodging out of tackle zones and playing with their tackle zones in terms of for their defense. And this team is Willow Dance, and we will bend and hopefully not break. And we are looking for, yes, nasty looking trees. And we're going green stripes for these guys. And Willow Bark will be our stadium, and no computers will not fix for us. All right, let's see. Looking at our available slots, you're going to see the Wood Elves actually have more player positions available, and they have a large monster, which the other Wood Elf team, or the other High Elf team, does not have. However, it is a double-edged sword by virtue of having him. So the Treemen is 120,000. War Dancers are 120,000. I believe that is actually the most expensive non-large monster in a starting piece. Throwers, 90,000, similar to what the High Elf Thrower is, except these guys only have 1 skill in passing. Catchers, these catchers have 3 skills, but they're only a 2 strength, much like the gutter runners. And then linemen are 70,000. Again, throwers or catchers are 90,000. So let's look at this in terms of how we might purchase this team out. You can start with a treeman or pick him up later. Let's go through real quick and just discuss him. They only have a 2 movement when the rest of your team has at least 7 movement. They kind of just stand in the middle of the field and hopefully can control it. They do have a 6 strength, so they are stronger than most are than large monsters starting out, be it an ogre, a minotaur, or whatnot. A minotaur can hit 6 strength when blitzing, but that's the only way. They only have a 1 agility, so they're not going to handle the ball for you. They do have a 10 armor value, so that is the highest armor value in the game. They are hard to hurt. They do have mighty blow, so they can potentially do damage to opponents. They stand firm, so they do not move back on pushback results. They have strong arm and throw teammate. Unfortunately, these skills do not translate right now in this game because none of your wood elves can take right stuff. Thick skull, meaning they can only be knocked out on a roll of 9. 8 keeps them on the field because of the thick skull. Very handy. At least he can stay around. And their negative trait is take root. Immediately after declaring an action, player rolls a d6. On a 2 or more, the player takes his action as normal. On a 1, the tree takes root and is stuck in the same spot until a touchdown has been scored or halftime or the end of the game happens. Or he's knocked down. But generally, once he takes root, everyone is going to try and just get away from him and not bother him, and he'll just stand there the rest of the game. Occasionally, you can knock people back towards him and have him feed for you, but once a treeman has taken root, he's effectively out of the point generally. Alright, war dancers. As I had said previously, war dancers are probably the best piece in the game, at least starting out. These guys come with an 8 movement, a 3 strength, a 4 agility, and only a 7 armor value, so they can be targeted. But these guys start block dodge. It's one of the strongest attack defensive skill sets, plus they come with a leap to start. So they are able to jump into boxes and try and knock balls loose. In terms of advancing war dancers, once they start skilling up, I always recommend having one of them start with strip ball, usually move to tackle. Use him as your assault piece. You can use the other one to pick up tackle. Both of them, I guess, really need to be ready in order to alternate positions if need be. These guys come with general skills and agility skills, so they can take the sidestep, they can take jump up. Jump up is a very handy skill for these guys with leaping because it's a straight edge roll. It means they're rolling for a 3. If you can get an edge boost on a war dancer, he is virtually unstoppable in terms of where he can go and what he can do. He can dodge through a single tackle zone for a 2, or he can leap over a piece for a 2. So 5-edge war dancers are a thing of beauty to behold, and often targeted maliciously. Should a war dancer get knocked down, you'll often see him fouled in order to try and get him removed from the field. But I recommend starting with 2. It's an expensive start, and it's really going to hamper you in terms of your team rerolls and apothecary going later on. Or starting out, I should say. But if you can get this team started well, trick is hopefully to not play against dwarves starting out. Again, wood elf throwers, much like other races, their throwers are the same as their linemen, except they pick up usually a skill or 2. These guys are 7 move, 3 strength, 4 agility, 7 armor value. These guys only pick up pass skill, so they're not, they don't get any extra ball handling, they don't get any extra, like safe throw with like the others have, no sure hands or anything. They do get access to the general agility and passing charts. With these guys, depending on how you want to advance them, I would generally recommend picking up, sure hands for the reroll. Rolls for a 2 are highly probable, but again, with the Blood Bowl being bad luck a lot of times, you want to have as many skill rerolls as you can so you don't have to depend on your team rerolls. Little things like this, just going with your hands to start, will help you out a ton. So we're going to start with one thrower, but we only need one. So we're going to remove the last piece. Yeah, all right. So we've got one thrower, and now we can look at the Wood Elf catchers. Wood Elf catchers are similar to gutter runners, except there's a whole mentality that gutter runners seem to have that the Wood Elf catchers don't. The gutter runner is the best piece on the team, and as such, he will do things for you that no other piece on a Skaven team will do. On a Wood Elf team, these guys are really secondary at best to a War Dancer. So I think they suffer from an inferiority complex at times. They do have an 8 movement, they are a 2 strength, 4 agility, and the 7 armor value. The catch reroll is nice. It'll one of those things that can help you speed the getting your team to skill up. I mean, linemen can throw to these guys, War Dancers can throw to these guys, your thrower can throw to these guys. Everybody can still pick up points fairly quickly. They do come with dodge, much like the gutter runners. You'll notice I compare a lot of things to the Skaven. Again, still my favorite team. So, and these guys do start with sprint. So where a Skaven has a 9 movement and can sprint twice, these guys have an 8 movement and can sprint 3 times. So ultimately they can cover the same amount of distance. Problem is these guys have to roll to do it. And 3 rolls for a 2, and as I've said many times and will probably continue saying, and I apologize if it starts to annoy you, a roll for a 1 that fails 50% of the time when going for it, that's what always seems to happen. General chart skills and agility skills, so these guys can be block dodge early on. I often do recommend that as their first area of skilling. Sidestep would probably be the second skill I'd recommend. The nice thing about these guys is they can be support pieces. They don't have to be assault pieces like how the gutter runners do on the Skaven team. So these guys you can really tailor towards being not having to waste points on like tackle skills and stuff. You can go in and you can go, okay, so I want block dodge on this guy, I want sidestep, jump up. So say you roll doubles, you can take a strength skill, throw guard on him. There's he can get his way into a lot of different places. You can use leap, going over lines, because of the sprint, get sure feet. Use the reroll on sprinting. If you get a move boost on one of these guys, he is, just, what is it? Let's see. Because he's already got sprint, that puts him to 9, 10, 11, 12. So on a quick snap, he can score in 1 turn. So you do have to get 2 move boost on them in order to get the sprint, or to get a 1-turn score piece. So they're not going to see as many 1-turn score pieces as the gutter runners. Is that right? Right now they're 11. Yes. Okay. That is right. So the gutter runners have an easier time, actually. They only need to get 1 movement boost. So, but you're allowed 4 of these guys, but because they are not gutter runners, I only recommend starting with 2 of them. The only reason I say start with 2 of them is because it doesn't make a difference in terms of rerolls and stuff if you start with 1. But you do need to start with 1. I have seen people who go with a lineman start for their Wood Elves because, there's, with the 7 movement, 3 strength, and 4 armor, or 4 agility and 7 armor value, there's not a lot of difference in terms of skills that they're bringing. The catchers are nice though, and that they're able to give you that catch reroll in early games when you're not going to be starting with a lot. So we're going to have to get 6 of these linemen. And again, like the other high elves, rerolls are 50,000. The apothecary is going to be 50,000. If you look, we only have 70,000 left. So like I said, even if we cut one of our catchers, we'd still not have enough money to purchase another reroll because we'd only get 20,000 back. We'd have to cut both of them, and that's where you'd have to go. Yeah, well, this is going to be my recommendation on the team. By no means, as I've said before, don't use it as the end-all be-all. Some of these are going to be experimental teams. This is actually how I normally start my team. So you're going to have 20,000 left over. Hopefully you'll be able to afford that apothecary next. Again, starting your team with lower rerolls can seem detrimental at times. And I'll be honest, some of the games I've played lately, I felt like the dice have been going against me. And I've been having to use rerolls early on things that are fairly simple and shouldn't necessarily statistically be failing the way they do. Other side of it is, though, sometimes rerolls just reroll into fails again anyway. So I enjoy the challenge of trying to play without rerolls a lot of times. That's probably bad on my part, but it hopefully will be entertaining for you guys. So that's how I'm going to recommend this team pan out. So we're starting with 11 players. We've got one reroll and no apothecary. So, probably look forward to seeing this team getting smashed up early on. We'll see how it goes. But again, like the High Elves, you're going to want to play a, step back. Basically, you're not going to be getting a lot of hits in with this team early on. Your war dancers are going to be the primary ones after the ball, But if you play against a team like Chaos or, even Dwarves, or if they fail to pick up the ball, oftentimes because war dancers can just jump over the front line and go out and get it with an 8 move, they're able to just make anyone pay for failing a die roll. Then that's where the Wood Elf's greatest strength comes in as a team, is if you fail dice against this team, you are going to lose points. They're not going to beat you up, but you will lose to the team. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you can, please like it and leave some comments down below as you feel. Hopefully, we'll be posting videos with these teams in their first games shortly. Our other teams have got games in now that I'm going to be recording here shortly and playback. Thank you very much for watching this. Look forward to hearing from you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.